Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back for your favourite show of the week, Talking Tactics. And we talk about another victory, but this time with a bit of a difference, an away victory and an away clean sheet. Gareth, those 1-0 away wins, as I put out on Twitter, are always the best.
Yeah, not the greatest of games, was it, as we just said, but I think it's important to win away from home in the Premier League. It's hard, as we know. We don't do it so much. So when it comes, it's very, very nice.
Exactly. So please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We are marching on way past 5,000 subscribers now. Thank you for all your support over the last few weeks in particular. Get your comments in and your thoughts on yesterday's performance. Again, from a tactical perspective, we've got all the analysis right here for you right now. So let's get into it, Gareth. The tail of the tape in terms of the match stats. Anything that was standing out to you on this regard?
No, not overly. I think it's a case of, again, it's quite an even Stevens sort of match stat, if we could say that. The pressing is pretty much the same from both sides. The aerial wins are identical. A few clearances more from Villa, maybe. Tyrone can be attributed to a few of them, I'm sure, and maybe 10 metres more on the goal kick length. But overall, not a massive amount of difference. We can see the passing's pretty much the same, and the field tilt's not that far off, and equal possession. So even Stevens.
Yeah, it did feel like that in terms of the game. Obviously, we know there was a couple of big missed chances from Villa. We might talk about that in a little while, but yeah, in terms of the general play, it was a pretty even game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. You couldn't say one side really deserved to win the game. You always felt, didn't you, as the game wore on, that one goal would do it, and that if we scored it, we would probably have enough to hold on.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of the passing sonars, we'll have a look at Villa's first. Anything here in terms of kind of the positions and the direction of passes that you picked up on?
Yeah, I think it's always better for me. I've said it before on here that when Onana and Kamara play together in a double pivot in central midfield, in that midfield two, if you like, and the 4-2-3-1 here is pretty much clear to see, isn't it? It's a good shape. You've got enough space between the midfield and everything. You can see Martinez still passing that ball a lot out to that left-hand side. And you can see Rodgers sort of feeding balls up onto that right-hand side quite a bit. So it's a little bit better. Shape-wise, it is a little bit better for me.
Yeah. It does look a bit more solid, particularly away from home. I know we've said sometimes, Bailey can be great as an outlet, particularly at home when he's on form, but sometimes away from home, he can be a bit isolated out on that right-hand side. And then, like you said, you end up with less players in that midfield and can be a bit exploited.
Yeah, and I also think people were discussing on our group last night when they're about this could be the game for Bailey, and I kind of disagree with that, really, because I don't think it was. I think he doesn't offer enough defensive stability for us, in tracking back, and I think we needed that in the shape that we had, because Everton could have been a threat down that side. So I think it was right. I think everything sort of right was about right overall.
Yeah. Everton, in terms of their sonars, anything again here that you noticed in particular?
Yeah, similar to us. They like to build up down the left with Mikalenko, so it was kind of a little bit hit and miss for them. They, like we just discussed off air, you've got Ashley Young and our aging right back, if you like. So they're trying to push a little bit higher here on average. I don't know what their average shape is usually. I just think they were a little bit exposed at centre half. Really, you can see the gap there on average for a start. So they're a bit exposed.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously that kind of situation occurred for the goal where, centre backs out of position, left isolated, and there was a few other occasions where if Villa had been a bit more less wasteful, sorry, not a bit more less wasteful, a bit less wasteful with their passing, they could have got in numerous times. I particularly remember one with Jacob Ramsey where Matty Cash was completely free on the right-hand side. If he'd just taken a bit more care on the pass, he would have been in.
There was so much space, weren't there, behind Ashley Young and Mikalenko at times when they went forward. There was so much space. And like you say, they exploited it on a couple of occasions. And that ball just had to be sprayed out to those wider areas. And we were in.
Yeah. Passing networks, our old faithful. Lots of passes, obviously, out to Mings, out to Konsa into Boubacar Kamara. Is that the kind of setting that you saw?
Yeah. It's a little bit of a change, isn't it? Because we see a lot of times straight out to the left and it's heavy, dark, heavy claret lines there. But we can see that we're trying something different into Kamara and into Onana. And that's why I always think that Tielemans is he good as in the 2 with Kamara? Is he better as the 10? He wasn't as effective yesterday, so you could argue probably in midfield. I've wished for the 3 in midfield together. I'm not sure it'll ever happen, but I think this is probably the way it will go with Kamara and Onana in there.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this today. Like Boubacar Kamara was excellent yesterday. I think we were all in agreement there, and he drops into that right fullback position really well, allows Cash to go forward, covers in behind, and helps with that extra centre half position, however you want to call it. But it also helps Amadou Onana because he can then be a bit more free in terms of how he operates. You know, we saw him having a couple of shots early on in the half. We saw him, getting into the tackle at times and trying to drive forward. Where when he's playing with Tielemans or when Kamara's not playing, he's kind of been tasked with that Kamara position, if you like, and he just can't quite do it right now. And that's maybe not his game.
I totally agree. And that's why I sort of championed a little bit for the 3 in midfield, because you've got the 2 of Onana and Tielemans that are allowed to go forward, where, Kamara is not a box-to-box midfielder, is he? Amadou Onana is. So therefore, like you say, when you play in that double pivot and you've got that reassurance of Kamara, that's what makes it work so well. And this is why we say we like those 2 in midfield. I think when they sign a more attack-minded right back, that's when you'll see Kamara's role in possession really come into focus, if that right side is going to be attack-minded as it is on the left-hand side. So that'll be interesting to see. But we've said it before, we've said it again. Kamara dropping into that right side, it works really, really well. And he's just starting, by the way, to start play off and build up really, really well with the ball. He's started to bring that into his game a little bit more since the injury, I found.
Yeah, definitely. Shot map and expected goals and everything like that. Anything to sort of discuss here?
We say it every week. Big chances missed. We say it week in, week out. 4 big chances and we've missed 3 of them. We've got to be more efficient. We say it again and again. We've got to be more efficient. You took 11 shots there and 4 of them were big chances. Got to be better.
Yeah. I mean, we scored with one of those big chances, but you're looking at Watkins in the first half. You're looking at Ramsey with 2 big chances, one particularly right at the end of that first half, and then Everton, particularly right at the end of that chance that Calvert-Lewin had, and that's where it comes to bite you. If we hadn't, if Calvert-Lewin hasn't missed that, we could be talking about 2 points thrown away.
Yeah, we could. And, and equally, if we'd have put the other 3 big chances away, we could have talking about a 4-0 drubbing away from a 4-0 win away from home. So, yeah, it is. It's really that sort of on the line, swings and roundabouts, isn't it? But we've got to be better. Other teams would have done that, I think.
Yeah. Momentum in terms of the threat. Again, obviously that big one at the end for Everton, but fairly steady across the game, like you said, in terms of both teams.
Yeah, and what we can take from it is that they're low numbers of expected threat, aren't they? They're not jumping about on the page, on the graph, or anything like that. So it's really quite settled. And yeah, that big chance, that pass at the end through to, for Calvert-Lewin and everything, it is a big chance, to be honest with you. But to be honest, playing like that and still coming away with that 1-0 win, you can't really sort of moan about that.
No, and we were talking before 2 or 3 weeks ago about the away from home tactics that Unai Emery employed when he first came in, about sitting in, being solid, even maybe dropping an extra player into that back line. And it wasn't quite that, but it was kind of harking on back to those days. He didn't bring an extra defender on and go six at the back, but he was certainly more conservative. Like, you could tell he really wanted to get that win, that kind of, well, by hook or by crook, that away win, to sort of get back into the groove of it.
Yeah, I think he saw the opportunity, didn't he? Even with a new manager bounce. I think he sort of used that as a bit of a sort of a counterbalance, if you like, and said, look, they're going to be more concerned about impressing a new manager. The crowd may still get on at them. Can we counteract that by actually going at them? Let's have a go at them, and which is what we did pretty much. But yeah, that we go back to it. Kamara into that right-sided centre-back role before, even sort of early on when he came back from the injury, it worked really well, didn't it? And
Yeah.
I think he just likes to spring these little surprises tactically, doesn't he, every now and then?
Yeah, definitely. Quick look at the kind of players, individual players, in terms of their threat. Morgan Rogers quite high up there, but then Mikalenko, Harrison, Lindstrom, Ashley Young, so all predominantly Everton players in that. Anything that you kind of writing home on that? Does it show that maybe Ramsey could have done a bit more?
Yeah, defensively, I think they could have done a bit more. But how Jack Harrison is on this, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's a strange one.
But I mean,
Maybe you put in a couple of corners or something that look
yeah,
quite dangerous.
maybe, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
0.21 for Rogers is not too bad. The carrying, I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see his expected threat go up with the ball carrying, because that's what he does so well. And JJ with the same. I think he looked quite disappointed when he come off, JJ. So
Yeah, I mean, I think Emery was pleased with his work rate, and the players did work hard. Actually, for both sides, Everton stepped up their pressing and stepped up their kind of work rate, and it was quite difficult. I mean, we get frustrated with the players being wasteful, and there was some poor passes, there was some kind of final ball, that decision making that could have been better. But give credit to Everton, because every time we seemed to get past one player, Rogers got past one player, or Ramsey managed to get past one player, there was another Everton player right there, trying to block a pass or trying to get something on it. So yeah, that's to be expected in that situation. They definitely did make it hard for us to get any flow in the game.
yeah, they did. Defensively, they looked solid, didn't they, Everton? They looked pretty good defensively. They just don't offer a lot going forwards.
No,
But we've been there. We've been there ourselves, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. Ball progression, you talked about there. Mikalenko right up there. Kamara, you mentioned there about him. Progressive passes. That's a good stat for him. Like joining in that, starting those attacks. And anything else that you wanted to discuss on this one?
No, I think that's probably what it was. The two of Kamara and Anana, progressing the ball. All right, they're not massive numbers, but they're better. And I like to see Kamara, like I spoke about it, starting to build those attacks up from deep and allowing Nanana to go forward. And I think that's important. And like you say, from progressive carries and through balls as well from Nanana. So it's an important thing to have. Those two in midfield must be a mainstay for me.
Yeah. Anything, we talked about this one last week, the distance covered. Was there anything that stood out to you in this? Any different to the last week's slide that we did? I think it might have been against Leicester.
Yeah, Watkins a little bit more. I think it was about 3K he covered last week. He's covered about 5.6 this week. So that's a bit of an improvement for me. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that you see some strikers, like, for instance, let's look at Calvert-Lewin. He's covered an extra 2K more than Ollie Watkins has, both playing in exactly the same systems, really. So that's the sort of work rate we really want to see sort of moving forward. But again, Anana and Kamara, 20, you can call that 22K between them in the game. That's massive.
Yeah. Huge. I mean, Rogers was really high in one of the game, might have been the Leicester game. So just under 9K on that one. Maybe he didn't quite get him going as much as he wanted to. Ramsey there, 7.7. I don't know what it is with Ramsey. I just feel like he's just a bit too safe for me. Like I've said this a few times, I really like him as a player, but I just find his movement like not definite enough. Like he kind of shows for the ball, but he doesn't. And he was against Ashley Young last night, and you kind of think you should be tearing him one. Like you should be pulling him all over the place, like dropping deep, going in behind. Like he just doesn't quite make. You know, when you have to make a run and you have to be definite, you have to be like, you have to almost force the player with the ball to pass you the ball by the run that you're making. And I just kind of feel like he just half does it.
Yeah, maybe it's post-injury. You don't know. Maybe he's a little bit. He doesn't trust his body so much. We discussed this again last week, didn't we? A similar sort of thing. He's Morgan Rogers is what Jacob Ramsey was almost a year or so ago, wasn't he? So
Yeah,
he needs to find that little bit of form. But yeah, to those sorts of numbers, you'd expect Morgan Rogers and Ramsey to be running. You're talking a 9-10 maybe, but I mean 8 or 9.
it's still not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still not
yeah,
bad. Yeah, I mean the midfielders
yeah,
you're looking at 11 or 12 usually.
yeah.
Fernandez for Manchester United, for example, runs about 13 and a half, but he's really sort of that sort of player that you want to aim to be in midfield almost.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not necessarily as well the distance covered, it's what you do with the distance
Yeah,
that you're covering. And I thought he had a real opportunity. Like you said, 38-year-old Ashley Young, obviously, he's still doing well to play in the Premier League, but coming up against Jacob Ramsey, he should have absolutely, roasted him a few times. And I don't know, I just want a little bit more out of him.
yeah.
But yeah, that's me being
That's where
hypercritical.
that's where I think we discussed. Leon Bailey could have been an asset in that respect. He
Yeah.
would have been up against Ashley Young, wouldn't he? So in that regard, I could see that.
Yeah. Uh, defensive shapes. Sorry. Nice and compact for Villa. Spread out for Everton there. But yeah, anything that you notice in here?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. I think it's Everton sort of worried about our width. We were quite wide, weren't we? If you notice,
Yeah.
we wingers were quite wide and everything else. So I can see why they've done that. Yeah, quite compact from us, I suppose, but yeah, not much really to add. I mean, you can see the two variations in the defensive shapes, and that sort of relates to the opposite team's attacking play, of course.
Yeah. And then just in terms of last couple now, just in terms of like the defensive actions, top 10 defenders, highlighting Tyrone Mings and James Tarkowski, to be fair.
Yeah, I think I wanted to add this in because although, like you said off air, Tyrone's not so great on the ball yet, but defensively, all his other stuff was really, really good last night. I thought he was close to being a man of the match alongside Kamara. So I just wanted to highlight this and see sort of the two comparisons of the two centre halves and where they are winning the ball. And Tyrone, you can see most of it outside the box, which means he's a little bit more of a front-footed defender, likes to try and sort of doesn't want to engage in the box, prefers to do things a little bit higher. And yeah, I mean, he ranked really highly for me, and I thought it was important to show that.
I mean, I absolutely love having him at the back, and him and Konsa as that centre back partnership. It's like back to the old days. Konsa seems a bit more comfortable with Mings at the back, and you just know that the players within the side can hear Mings and just being that voice on the pitch that we've been crying out for so long across this last few months. And just right at the end of the game, like the last 5-10 minutes, I think it was like Buendia did a couple of things well. I think one or two. I think Onana won the ball really cleanly, and you can hear Ming's voice like booming through, saying "Good, well done," and that's what you need because it doesn't just convey to our players that they're doing the right thing, but it's to the opposition. It demoralizes them because you've got this big booming voice like telling the players how good it is, how easy it is, how Everton aren't going to do anything to us, etc., etc., and that's what you need on the pitch.
Yeah, you can hear Amma, well done, Amma. Well, you can hear it, can't you? All throughout the thing. And yeah, it is important. I mean, he is my captain for me. I think he is that captain material. He's a centre half, a big, strong lad. And like you say, with a booming voice, he is that captain. We just need, but that doesn't get him in the team, does it?
No, you've got to be able to pass the ball. I get that.
Yeah, and I think that's why he prefers Pau Torres, because Pau Torres is a very quiet man, but yet he's much better on the ball than Tyrone. But I totally agree with you. I think Konsa is much more at home when he's got Tyrone next to him. I don't think he sort of likes the unpredictability of Pau Torres, maybe.
Yeah. And finally, talk about the goalkeepers, just because I think Pickford was caught in no man's land a couple of times. Obviously, not necessarily his fault with the poor back pass from Ashley Young, but certainly the goal that Watkins scored. I mean, I don't think he could have made it any easier for Watkins to put it in the back of the net.
No,
And Emi Martinez very solid as well.
yeah, very solid. I think Pickford's let him minus 0.28, but I mean, it is by the by really. I was concerned when Ollie Watkins went through. Please don't just try and turn it round and put it on your right foot and bend it. So I think Pickford was caught out. I really think, although his positioning wasn't good, I think he was caught out by the finish. I think he thought that Watkins fancied a touch on it and was going to take it round. And to take it really early on your left foot, I think caught Pickford out.
Yeah. Nice finish, nice calm finish. And the ball from Roger was brilliant, and obviously just set him up to be able to just stroke it in first time. And yeah, just what Ollie Watkins needed. And I mentioned before, I thought that he would start. I didn't, in my opinion, Unai Emery would have thought Watkins has done well over the last 3 games. He scored a goal, he assisted 2 goals, and then he's obviously scored again yesterday. So, in terms of that link up with Rodgers as well, I don't think. Well, clearly he didn't. Emery would have thought that's a satisfactory performance for him.
Yeah, and I think, I totally agree with you. I think Watkins runs the channels really, really well. I think he does it far better than John Duran does, if I'm honest. I think up against centre halves that don't have a great deal of pace and that tend to play a higher line, he fancies Ollie Watkins more. If he's got a tough centre half, which you could argue was Tarkowski, but let's up against Virgil van Dijk, I think he would probably favour John Duran because I think he would fancy him in that battle with Virgil van Dijk. But against slower centre halves, I think he really does, especially away from home as well, by the way. He prefers Ollie Watkins purely for the fact is the work rate off the ball is superb.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, see what he's going to do on Saturday, because he didn't put Bailey on, he didn't put Duran on, he didn't put Matson on. So with regards to Saturday in mind, that one, two, or all 3 of those could be used against Arsenal. And then you've obviously got Monaco on Tuesday as well. So seeing how he's balancing in his squad as well.
Yes. It's a quandary, isn't it, about Arsenal? I'm not sure. What does he do up against Gabriel? Could he play both? Give Saliba and Gabriel something to think about? I don't
we
know.
Watkins has played well against those 2 previously.
That's my point. Yeah. So, I mean, look how he played last season. He gave him a torrid time, didn't he? But again, by running and taking those players out wide to centre halves don't want to go out towards the touchline. They don't. And he does that really, really well. So could that open up space for Rodgers in central midfield? I would still keep Tielemans in that 10 role. I really would. I wouldn't change a great deal. If I'm honest, apart from maybe Jacob Ramsey for Leon Bailey, I don't think I'd change a great deal there.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting game. Gareth, once again, fantastic analysis. Where can people find all of your visuals on social media?
Yeah, I'll put all the viz on at One Villa Analysis in the morning and at that Garate JC as well.
Brilliant. And you also posted a great illustration of Boubacar Kamara's performance and what he did. So please do check that out, guys, on Gareth's social media as well. We'll be back with a match preview for Arsenal, obviously, in the next day or so. I'll also be doing my transfer talk shows, rounding up all of the latest. And we'll also do another show with Gareth in the coming days, focusing on 1 or 2 targets that we might have and also some that Gareth thinks might fit into the Villa mould. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get your comments in. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.